Life with Marlene, your Florida vlogger, and welcome to today's live stream, video, podcast. I hope you guys are doing awesome, awesome, awesome. Today we're going to be doing a topic. I forget what I called it. Forget what I called it. I called it something, but I definitely wanted to tap in for today's topic. So today we're going to be talking about, have you been delivered from a toxic relationship, from a bad relationship, from a very unhealthy relationship? This is what I want to talk to you guys about today. I'm being delivered from a very unhealthy relationship. There's nothing worse, I believe, than being in a relationship with somebody and the love is not reciprocated. Kindness is not reciprocated. Respect is not reciprocated. And it's one of the most terrible things that ever happens in life. Hey, Wellness, how are you doing? Hi, Joe, how are you? Happy Thursday, everybody. And anybody who has ever been in a very toxic relationship, manipulative, jealous, controlling, dark, evil relationship can understand where I'm coming from. Have you ever been delivered from a toxic relationship? Have you been delivered? Hey, Sirius, how are you doing? Welcome. Happy Thursday. And I want to ask you guys, have you been delivered from a toxic relationship? I feel like it's like going from darkness to light. I know that I have been delivered from a toxic relationship, and whew, it's just one of those woosah moments, and it feels like when you're in it. Sarah says my day is going great. Oh, awesome! I'm so happy. Joe says definitely. I'm speaking from the heart today, guys. Transparently. Thank you to one of my mods who put on the subscriber only mode. I really appreciate that because I don't have time for any games today. Especially when you're speaking transparently from your heart. If you have ever been in a toxic relationship with the manipulation, let's start with that. Somebody always manipulating you, making you feel inferior, that you always have to come last. Everything you do, you can never make them happy. All you ever do is wrong to a manipulator, a narcissist, a control freak, a jealous person. You can never do anything to please them, but at the same time, they don't want to let you go. They don't want to let you have anybody else. They don't want to see you happy and have peace. It's one of the craziest things in life that they will not love you the way that they should, but at the same time, they're not going to let you go in order for you to be happy and have peace. I have been there and I have done it, and I honestly felt like completely broken. I have been completely broken from my ex. Completely broken. I mean, taking everything that you have emotionally, okay? Not willing to pour into you. Not willing to care about anything that has to do with you. Are you okay emotionally and mentally? Actually, toxic relationships, they will add to your mental health issues. They will make you they stress you out, put you down. They want you to have your self-esteem in the toilet so that they can continue to control you just like a puppet. Yeah, it's crazy, Joe, right? Very crazy. Sear says, I understand that part, Marlene. Yes. Yeah. And, you know, this is not anything to put anybody down, make anybody feel bad or guilty, because people will say, you should have chose better. You should have chose a better relationship. But at the time, you choose a relationship based on where you are. Emotionally, mentally, you know, and also how emotionally intelligent you are. It's a lot of factors that come into place: your financial situation, your self-esteem. Lots of things come into play where why you choose the person that you're in a relationship with. It's a lot of factors. I know that some people, they choose to be in a romantic relationship with somebody because they're just seeking deliverance. See, for me, if I'm going to be completely transparent, my deliverance, I wanted to be delivered from my home environment, you know, with my relatives, thinking that I'm going to be delivered from that situation, not knowing that I was jumping into the frying pan. How many of us do that? You feel like you're going to escape. You're trying to escape one place, but you wind up going into a place where it's worse, at least in that relationship. You know, your relative dynamic, they wouldn't do anything to harm you in a physical way. But when it comes to romantic relationships, it's just not that way. It's a lot of mental and emotional baggage that people who are toxic, angry, jealous, manipulative, that hate themselves put on another person. Hey Delvin, how are you doing? Blessings to the chat. Yeah, unless you have been there, you can't know how another person feels. And I know how I feel because I walked it. Not days, not months, years. I put up with a toxic relationship over 11 years. Over 11 years, because I didn't have enough confidence to say I can do better. And sometimes, because you've been doing so much for them, or they've broken down you so bad that your self-esteem is in the toilet, that you can't leave. People will always say you should leave that relationship, right? It's easier said than done, especially if you have walked away from a situation, or your ex has isolated you from your relatives, that you can't go back. Sirius says, you wasn't having a relationship that is characterized by love and harmony. It was an entanglement, no clear agreement. There you go, right there, Sirius. It wasn't a relationship, it was an entanglement. It was, you know, because people get involved in entanglements, situationships, right? But it's not a romantic relationship. A real romantic relationship is like what Sirius talked about. A real good, healthy, romantic relationship is going to help you to grow as a woman, as a man, or as a man. You're going to experience personal growth. There will be healing and peace in the relationship, not frustration all the time, anger, you feeling this small when you're around them, feeling like in fear, because that was one thing that I did not like about my ex. I always felt like I had to apologize and be sorry for what I was doing. If they called, like, you know, like being so nervous that I better answer the phone, or I'm gonna have to hear their mouth, I'm gonna have to hear their complaints, I'm gonna have to hear their drama. And if you don't have somebody who's understanding and compassionate to know you got to work, you have a life, it's not a good thing when you are in a romantic relationship with somebody and you have fear. Fear of, you just don't want to hear their mouth, or fear of that, you know, they're going to claim that you were, what were you doing? The fallback is always, you were cheating on me, right? Isn't that always the fallback? Oh, who are you with? Who's around you? It's always the questions. And it's because of the insecurity inside of that person, the jealousy inside of that person, the immaturity. So it's one of those things that if you are seeing those things in your romantic relationship, it doesn't matter how much excuses a person makes. It doesn't matter how much a person says they're sorry. Unless a person is in that space, you can't make somebody change. Until a person wants to be a certain way, they're not going to be that way for you. So you're just delaying the inevitable. What is the inevitable? That you're going to have to walk away. You're just delaying it. And I know that's what I was doing. I didn't want to accept it. I did not want to believe that the person that I chose was not what I believed in my mind. Because if any of you have been gaslighted in a relationship, lied to, controlled, manipulated, and all those things, they make you think something, and it's like you fall for those smoking mirrors. They portray themselves to be some wonderful person, you know, when you just met them, so nice and sweet and kind to you, until it changes, until they switch, until the mask actually falls off and you find out who they really are. There's a lot of people where when the person that you meet when you're dating, or initially when you get married to them, is not the real person. You don't meet that person until many months or years later. Much later, you find out who they really are. Joe says, completely understand. Sierra says, exactly. Delvin says, toxic relationships is is ill for the soul. No good. Trust me. Leave it alone. Yes, you got to leave it alone. And as Sierra says, Delvin says, ladder of chaos. And you run. Yeah, but you know, for me, I can only speak for myself. You don't want to believe that a person is what you know. Like, I believe that your spirit, your energy, it has told you a long time ago, you know, when you question things. Why do they treat me this way? Or they said this and another time it's that. You see the inconsistencies, all of those red flags, but you don't want to believe it because you have this thought in your mind. I love them, but they don't love you back. See, and you shouldn't have to question. A person shouldn't be one way one day and another way another. It's supposed to be all the time the same person. You know, people can have bad days and things like that, but it shouldn't be to put you down, make you feel less than, for them to not be supportive, talk about you like a dog, treat you terribly, non-supportive, don't want to spend time with you, embarrass you. All of those things, those are all red flags, and we have to pay attention to it. And I wanted to have this conversation today about, have you been delivered from a toxic relationship? Because I know that many people, they stay longer than you should. I know for me, I stayed way longer than I should have, because I didn't know my value. I didn't think that I had deserved better, you know? And you're not going to get there until you get there. Until, like, you start really being confident and you believe in your worth, and you get tired of the foolishness and the lies and the manipulation and all of their tactics. When you start working on yourself and you heal and improve and love yourself and know how to be your own best friend, there's a lot of things that you're just not going to settle for like you used to. Yes. Sierra says that pain wasn't meant to break you. It's meant to wake you up. It can leave you bitter or better. Yes. And that is one of the things that I love about this topic and talking about it. Every time I talk about where I was, and I think about how sad I was and how much I used to cry all the time, walk around with my head down, low self-esteem, barely eating, lots of doubts in my mind, not living my life on purpose and with purpose. Because if you're in a bad relationship, you can't live your life's work. You can't be happy and at peace, because there is not happy and at peace in your home environment, you know? And it all makes sense. Until I learned to have peace from within, I couldn't find peace from other people. All you're gonna get is pieces, right? Brokenness, doubts, confusion, drama. That's what you're gonna get. And none of us deserves that. Yes. Delvin says, when we love, how many times, when we love, many times we don't think completely correct. Yes. A lot of times we think it's love, you know, but it's a mirage. It's a smoke screen. At least it wasn't my case. I used to always think that I was in love, right? But no, sometimes you're in lust. Sometimes you're falling for the old okey doke. You're falling for a fairy tale, and there is no fairy tale, you know? And more people need to understand that. If something seems too good to be true, most likely it is. It is too good to be true, you know? You're gonna have to see that, you know, there's gonna be some good days and some bad days and all of that. That's in any romantic relationship. But ultimately, what it should be about is support, kindness. In the bad times, that you have support, understanding, not being isolated and alone and disrespected. There's a lot that you really have to pay attention when you go through things and see how are you being treated, are you being supported and cared for, and listen to other people who really care about you, because that was me. So much people were telling me, oh, they're not a good person, I don't like the way they talk to you, I don't like the way they treat you, they're not there for you like they should. Especially what turned me all the way off is when I was going through the hardest period of time in my life. The hardest period of time in my life. I had lost my mother and my father in 7 months. And it was just like, I got phone calls and things like that, but it wasn't, they weren't like there for me. Like, what can I do to help you? What can I do to support you? It was always about them, you know? And, I don't know. And you just don't know how things are going to be until you're in the position to find out. They're fine with you as long as you're doing things for them, right? But when you can't because you're going through your own personal stuff, that's when you see that person switch, or that's when you see the mask falls off. And that's when you find out, oh, this is not who I thought it was. And that's when I started seeing the mask slip off from my ex. It's like, you're fine, you're nice to me, you love me, only when I can do things for you, only when I can give you money, only when I can do this, and this. But when I can't do those things, or when I'm not available, you're not into me anymore. It's very interesting. Siri says, Marlene, I measure intentions, not just efforts. Potential is a trap. It's not compared to action. Yes. And like I've said before, let's stop picking up projects, okay? Feeling that, oh, they're a good person, right? Or they're going to, or they're about to do this and that, and they're always about to do something. They're always talking about all these big plans, but they're not letting anything happen in real time, in real life. What are they doing to show and prove who they really are? And my mom told me a long time ago, my parents were married for 52 years, and no, they did not have a perfect relationship. But one thing that I will say about my mom and dad that I learned was that one person is supposed to be, they're supposed to be focused on you, and you're supposed to be focused on them, and it's supposed to be reciprocated. And, back in the day, how it used to be, it was like always roles that, women do this, men do that. And that's not my vibe. I feel whatever needs to happen in the relationship, you each can help each other. If you see something is not happening, the other one needs to pick up the slack. There are no rules that a woman does this and a man does that. I don't believe in that. I think it's garbage. It's pure foolishness. If one person is good at something, let that person do it. What if a man is a better cook? Does that mean that it's not a good woman? No. What if a woman is better in bringing income? Then let the woman bring in the income. Let the husband stay home and take care of kids. It has to be whatever is working for the relationship. And stop listening to society and friends and this person, that person. What gets on my nerves, guys, is people will love to give you relationship advice. And number one, they're not even in a relationship. They're not even married. They don't even have kids. So they're telling you about how a relationship should be and what you're supposed to be doing, but they have never walked a day in those shoes. Very interesting. Delvin says, I stayed in a bad relationship. I know I should have left. I blame myself for staying, thinking I could work it out. Oh, was I wrong? Live, learn. Yeah, but you know what, Delvin? Everything in this life, it's about learning, changing, and growing. Because I don't believe that there are mistakes. I don't believe that there's mistakes in life. I think you may have made bad decisions. Maybe you didn't pay attention to red flags, but I don't think we made bad decisions. I just think, I don't think we make mistakes. I think everything that happens is supposed to happen, for real, to get us to get to another space and stage in our life. Because if we didn't go through things and choose a terrible person, then will we really be able to identify a good one? You know, we go through things in order for us to learn and to grow into things. Uh-oh. Oh, I thought my phone was frozen for a second. Sarah says, we all wish this world were a fair ecosystem with clear laws and would tell us what to expect. Yeah, but you know, and the other thing is that there's expectations versus reality. Like, people will say one thing, like you'll expect things, and then here's the reality. And you have to stop trying to feel like your life is going to be a fairy tale. There's going to be problems, but how do you work at the problems? Does that person ignore it? Do they make problems? Are they immature? Do they have good behavior? Are they even ready for a relationship? Are you ready? Do they want to play the field? Like, you really have to be honest and real with yourself. Adela says, serious, I don't like surprises. Yes. Life is unpredictable with all of its coincidences and randomness. I don't follow the outside world with my inside world. Yep. Sierra says, that's me, Marlene. 100. Sometimes you'll give more, sometimes less. It depends on your circumstances. Yes. I'm just telling y'all, to be real, 100%, that you can't listen to people on the outside. People don't have your life. They don't have your situation. They haven't been through what you've been through. But you really do, honestly, when you are either dating, trying to find somebody to, to live your life with, you have to really pay attention to those red flags. And I can tell you, as someone who stayed longer than I should, who dealt with a lot of gaslighting and toxicity and drama and settling, there was a lot of settling. I have been delivered from settling. I will no longer ever settle, because it took me going through a situation and being in a relationship with somebody, and I felt like my whole life was settling because I chose somebody that was not a good choice for me. That was not a good person. That's not what I wanted, and that's not what I needed. But you feel sometimes, okay, I'll just settle for this. It will be okay. It'll get better. And most of the time, it does not get better. It actually gets worse. It actually gets worse. And you get mental health disruptions. There's a lot of arguments. There's fights about money. We're always, when you are in a relationship, there's always going to be things that you don't agree with. There'll be things that they don't agree with. But do you come together with respect? Okay, I don't understand that. I don't agree with it, but okay, you can feel that way, and I can feel that way. But the thing about my relationship and my ex, it was that they could do whatever they wanted to do, right? And if something happened, it was always smoothed over, glossed over. no, oh, you know, I'm tired, I'm going through something. It was always something to gloss over what they were going through or what they couldn't do. But when it came to my flaws were always highlighted and theirs was always diminished, right? It's very interesting. When you're in a toxic relationship and when you've been delivered from it, you can really see. Now that I have been delivered from it, I can really and honestly see what it is now. You always feel like you got to be apologizing for because they made bad decisions, and they always want to call you angry, and you're involved in drama because it's like, wait a minute, but you're the one with an anger problem. You made the bad decision. You didn't get your education. You didn't do what you need to. You are always late. But then later, you're the one that has to fix the situation. And I promised myself I'm not doing any more Build-A-Bears. I'm not doing any more Build-A-Bears. If a person isn't where I want them to be, just leave me alone. Just leave me alone. I'm never going to settle for that, because I think people get so involved with the desire and the attraction that they really don't look at everything. Okay, it's nice for somebody to be handsome or beautiful, but what about who they are inside? Like, what do they think about? How do they treat you? How do they feel about themselves? How do they treat other people? What do they do in their day-to-day life? Is that something that you want to deal with for the rest of your life? Are they a project, or are they helping you to become more empowered? Do they have mature thinking? Are they immature? Do you always feel like you have a partner, or do you feel like you have a child? And that used to be my problem. You know, I can't speak for everybody, but for me, I always felt like being in a relationship with them was like having a child and not a spouse. And that's difficult. And I'm going to get into talking about some more when I start doing vlogs with some real talk conversations. I'm going to be talking about that transparently and honestly about so many things that we settle for, ladies and gentlemen, that we shouldn't. So I can't wait for us to have those conversations when I'm either going for a walk or a gym or going for a drive or doing something in my day-to-day life. And I just feel like I'm going to do a vlog and talk to you guys about that. So look forward to seeing some of those more, even more so. Let's see. Okay. See what I missed. Respect. Yes, it does get worse. Sierra says that's the $1 million question. Delvin says how they treat each other. That's so important, isn't it? How do they treat you? How do they make you feel? Do you feel strong when you're around them and empowered, like you can overcome anything? Or do you feel like yucky, trashy, worthless, sad? Are you crying a lot? That's really the sign if you are in a good relationship or not. You shouldn't be upset. There shouldn't be a lot of emotional trauma. Like, oh, you're always upset. You feel like you're walking on eggshells. You don't feel comfortable. You don't feel like you're never growing. And when you're in a toxic relationship, you never grow. It feels like you're in the same space that you have been in for years, or however long you've been in the relationship. Like you haven't learned anything. You're not stepping outside the box. They're not saying, hey, you should go and do this. You know, it's not a lot of things pushing you to work on yourself and to be happy. But in a good relationship, you are going to have somebody who is going to say, how about you get some therapy? Or let's do therapy together. Or they want you to be healthier. How about you eat better and take better care of your body and have better relationships? In a good relationship, they're going to encourage you to spend time with your family, to spend time with your kids, to do good things. Hey, love baby, how are you doing? Welcome. In a good relationship, they're going to push you to take better care of yourself. You know, they're going to push you to be your best self. But in a toxic one, all they're going to do is push you to separate yourself from your money, separate yourself from your friends. Like, that's the thing that I don't like about a toxic relationship. And, you know, we will agree to disagree. Not everybody believes that. But I don't feel like if you're in a good, healthy relationship, that it should be always you and that person. I think you should want to have your own friends and spend time with other people. It's very dangerous to me to be in a relationship with somebody and it's always about them. They want to know who's there all the time, what you're doing. You know, it's just too much drama. And they want to ask you why. Everything is, why are you doing this? Why are they there? Why this? It's crazy. Yes. Yeah, it's very important. I understand that, Marlene, being the adult in the relationship, and that gets exhausting, you know, to all my gems. It gets exhausting to be in a relationship where you have to carry the relationship on your own. That's not a relationship. If you need emotional support, but you always have to go to somebody else for emotional support or financial support, like you feel like you're not getting anything from the relationship, that is another sign that you need to end it and leave that person alone. Love Baby says, I'm home doing laundry, cleaning, and preparing myself for work tomorrow morning. Awesome, Love Baby. I hope you're going to have a good rest of your day. Yeah, everybody, I just feel like we deserve better. And anybody who needs to hear, whether you're in a relationship, you're not in a relationship, you deserve to have somebody who is kind to you, supportive, compassionate, and going to empower your mind. Tell you that you can do great things, not put you down, not shame you, but empower you, make you feel stronger, push you to say, you know, go for your goals. And ask you the questions. What do you want to do with your life? And how can I help you to get that? You know, that is a supportive person to be in a relationship with. But when you don't have a supportive person, it's always about them and taking care of them and what they want and what they want and what they want. And you're always put last. I can tell you guys, with my ex, it was always what he wanted all the time. It was never asking me, oh, are you tired? You should rest. Or, no, it was never any of that. Well, can't you rest after you do that for me? And why do you have to do that right now? And who's going to be there? What? It just jealousy, control, manipulation, and zero support. There was never an emotional connection with me and my ex. And I don't know who I'm talking to with this message, but if you can't get somebody who cares about your emotions, it's not going to last. Because men and women, we all need support emotionally. If you're going through something and they don't say, how can I help you? If it's just like, okay, whatever, and change the subject, or non-supportive, how can I make your day better? You don't feel good and they're not offering any support. Like, do you need me to bring you something? Do you need some soup? How can I help you? You know, even talking to you kindly. It's just like, oh, you're always sick, you know? All those are red flags, and we have to pay attention to all of those things because we deserve better. Because we're enough and we're worthy. And you deserve to be treated with kindness and love and respect, and not to be treated like garbage. And if you want to be delivered from a toxic relationship, you can. But you first have to believe you deserve better. That was for me where it started. I had to believe that I deserved better. And all that time, I didn't think I deserved better. I absolutely did not think I deserved a good person. Absolutely, I didn't think I deserved it because of a lot of unresolved issues, unresolved trauma, maybe from your childhood, you know, in speaking to your inner child. And you got to talk to that little girl, little boy inside of you. And I don't care what anybody has to say. If you have some issues from your childhood or your ex, and they did something that was rude, disrespectful to you, and if you don't heal from that, you're going to just hop from that into another problem. You got to face your own issues. Hi, Metro. How are you doing? You got to face your own issues before you go and choose somebody. You know, there are so many people who always are hopping from one relationship to the other because they don't have accountability. That is another part of being in a relationship. It's not what another person brings to the relationship, but what do you bring to the relationship? Do you bring maturity? What can you aid? How can you help the person that you're with? And a lot of people don't have that way of thinking. They only think about, well, they do this and they don't have this. But also you got to ask yourself, what do I have? What kind of woman or what kind of man am I? What do I bring to the table? What can I offer? And if I'm being real and honest, I didn't have a lot to offer. Besides, you know, I think I've always been a good person, but sometimes we just are not really ready to be in a relationship. You know, you want to be in a relationship because you don't want to be lonely, or you know, you're ready for certain things to happen in your life. Maybe you want children, or maybe you want to settle down, or you want certain things, you know, you want somebody to build a life with. But just settling for any garbage person, settling for trash, that's a big no-no. Metro says, I'm doing great. Okay, awesome. Hi, Miss Purple. How are you doing? Welcome in. Happy Thursday, everybody. I wanted to have this conversation because I feel so good now that I have been delivered from a toxic relationship. And I can tell you, when you have been in a toxic relationship, it's like when you finally leave it and move on from it, you can start seeing the red flags. Like, how come I didn't see when they did this, this, and this? Hey, Nate, how are you doing? Miss Purple says, I'm blessed. Yeah, I honestly can tell you guys that I really didn't feel that I was in a toxic relationship until I left it. You really don't see things. And when they say love is blind, that is a real thing. It's a real thing. When you're in it, when you're dating somebody, or when you're married to somebody, you really can't see all of the things that other people will tell you. Oh, they're a jealous person. They're a manipulative person. They're this or that. But you can't see it because all you can see is the lies that they tell you. All you can, and I think, if I'm being real, transparent, honest in all of it, I feel like you think that way because of what you allowed. You think that way because you don't want to be honest with yourself. You know, I can say for me, I got into my previous relationship with my ex because I was trying to escape. I was trying to escape the home environment, get away from my relatives, and I thought that was a solution. So jumping from the hot pot to the frying pan, that's what I did. And that's what a lot of people do. They think that life is going to be better, or this was my thing, they're going to change. People will always talk about how they're going to change, how they're going to do better, and they talk about all this amazing, I'm about to do this, I'm about to do that, but it's all talk. It's no action. And if you don't have somebody that is actively pursuing when you meet them, not just talking about what they're going to do, because talk is cheap, but what are they doing in their lives? And then you got to ask, what are you doing in your lives? Because I see so much people, they pause their goals for a relationship. They pause their dreams for a relationship. Hey, Miss Key, how are you doing? People pause their lives for a relationship. You're pausing your life for a man or a woman, and it just don't make sense. If you really think about it, it doesn't make sense. And people will have kids with somebody, have a, you know, with the man or the woman, you know, you'll have kids together, you'll do, and then after all of this years, drama, heartache, it's finally revealed to you that they were a dog, they were a cheater, they were a liar, they weren't who they say they were. And I really wish that nobody would have to go through the pain of heartache, heartbreak, drama, lies, manipulation, gaslighting, jealousy, you know. But for me, I think the hardest part about a breakup is that the scars that they leave behind. It's like you trusted a person. And for me, when someone breaks trust, like I can't trust you anymore, because they, you know how like they do so many things and then one day it's like the straw that breaks the camel's back. You guys know what I'm talking about? It's like you're putting up with so much for such a long time that one day it's just like no more. It don't even have to be a big thing, but you're literally done. And I think that's how it was for me. You just keep putting up with it until you just say, I'm not going to put up with it anymore. That's why I moved on and stay away from my ex and other exes. Cruel drama and ignorant what they did to me. Disrespect in front of family and in front of children. Yes. And you know, I can say for myself, a lot of settling happened for me. Maybe not for everybody, but for me, there was a lot of settling. But there was a lot of mind games. And I'm so grateful that I have been delivered from mind games. And I will never, ever put up with mind games again. I can't do it. You know, they're always making excuses about why they can't do things. And at the same time, they're not doing anything to be a good person in a relationship, but they're steady complaining about you. But you're the one doing all the work. It was like, when I started thinking about that after, like, what? You always complained about me, but you were doing nothing. It's like, what? People are weirdos. Miss Key says, yep, we have to move on and grieve the friendship and let it go. If there was a friendship, well, that would be great if there was a friendship, Miss Key. But I can say with me and my ex, there was no friendship. Because for me, friendship is a person who is there, supportive, honest, and loyal. And I can't be a friend to somebody who is not loyal, is not respectful, does not think about what I'm going through, and doesn't respect boundaries, you know? So I'm grateful that I have been delivered. And anybody, any of you that have been delivered from a bad relationship, somebody that didn't respect you, they weren't supportive, they didn't want to spend time with you, or maybe just sometimes it's a personality mismatch. And I can say honestly, for me, I believe that it was a personality mismatch from the beginning, and I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to believe it. But really, it is what it is. And I think the sooner that you come to that space is the better that it is for you. Okay? So thank you everybody for supporting this live stream. I appreciate every single one of you. And I'm definitely going to be back on tomorrow, probably around noonish or something, maybe 11:30. I think 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to try my best to do a longer live stream, probably like from 11:30 to like 2:30, something like that. Sirius says, everyone have a blessed and fantastic day. Thank you, Sirius. You too. Metro says, exactly, Marlene. We cannot be friends for those we trusted. We cannot give them another chance if they continue to lie and disrespect you. Yes. Miss Purple says, that's me. I'm not friends with any exes, and that's why they are called an ex. Period, Miss Purple. Yes. Blessings to the chat. Everyone have a great rest of your day. Thank you guys so much. I'm Life with Marlene, your Florida blogger, life coach, and motivational speaker. Thank you so much for your support. And anybody, if you're in a relationship and you feel that someone's talking down to you, disrespecting you, not supporting you, cheating on you, using you and abusing you, will not help you financially end the relationship. You deserve better. Deliver yourself. You're going to feel so much better mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and financially. You really will. It's better to be by yourself for a time than to settle and be involved in confusion, disruption, negativity, and drama. Because you deserve better, and so do I. Thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.